So why are we here?
Well, we thought it'd be really, well, there's loads going on in HR at the moment, isn't there? And I think there's a lack of support for HR. There's also a massive lack of fun. And we thought, because we're such funny characters, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? To kind of do our own little spoofy come together in conversation around stuff on our mind. But
we'll let
really,
them be the judge of that, right? Whether we're fun or not.
Yeah. You can tell us at the end.
It's the worst thing that anybody can tell you is, oh, you're really funny.
You're so funny. But you are, though.
Well, I think that we should call this a little bit of what light relief then, really.
I think that's...
Yeah, bringing a bit of light relief for the recognising our wonderful, wonderful HR professionals, but recognising that life is getting really, 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 really tough for them out there, and what we want to do is just try and share a little bit of knowledge. To that end, had I better introduce myself?
I think you should.
Okay, so I'm Jeanette Ramsden, and I've been running the Curve Group for the last 20 years. And before that, I was an HR director, and we sort of provide services to HR professionals in the workplace.
That was marvellous, wasn't it?
Oh, shall I introduce the dinger right now?
Yeah, I think you should.
I think it's time.
We have a dinger, which we have to do with aplomb.
I might end up taking it away from you two, I think, at some point. So
that's if we perform a gratuitous plug of our business.
Yes.
So if I say something like "People Go," we're going to do that.
Ding!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people go row.
What about Doug?
Oh yes, we better say this is Doug.
So this is Doug, everybody. Doug is
cutest member of the panel,
and the only one that's got anything interesting to say. To be fair.
So what's your background then after
Doug?
After Doug.
So I last year I was actually, I mean, this sounds like such a mouthful, I was the youngest Chief People Officer on the FTSE 100 and the only out FTSE 100 CPO. But since then I've gone back to what I really like best. So I've gone back to running my own business. We do a lot of kind of executive development for C-suite. I do a lot of coaching. A lot of private one-on-one client stuff and a lot of strategy stuff on a retainer basis. So I'm loving that.
Yes.
Because you just get to work with people that you really like.
Yeah.
And I think, because we all know at the top of the organisation, it's not always like that, is it, really?
No, not always. Not always. I'd like to think it is obviously perfect and Curve.
What about...
what about me?
Yeah. Have you actually given your name?
Oh, no, Jordan.
Just saying.
So I just said who I was and you not got a name.
We weren't there, it wasn't a close until the name was given, so I wasn't actually lined up just yet.
So I'm Jordan Barry Bayliss and I'm a northerner and I had to get married to get a double-barrelled name, so I'm very proud of that.
Well done, darling. And did we give you a ding for your...
I think we need
a
to
big one.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm Kelly York. I have a double-barrelled name. I was born with it, so I didn't need to marry for it.
She's a southerner.
So I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Curve, so I work developing services for our customers and actually spend a lot of time out with these HR people that we're talking about today, and it is very difficult for them, and actually when we talked about doing this, it's just really nice to give everyone a little bit of light relief. So.
Yeah.
Because it's bloody hard work, let's be really
really
honest.
hard
There's no
it's
dressing
really
that up.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the first in our series to sort of talk about the pressure that we've got in HR at the moment. But what we'd really like is for you to tell us what you're finding in terms of pressure, so that we can actually maybe just give you a bit of light relief, a bit of fun, but also some serious advice around what topics
Shall
that we
I start
can
with
cover.
the stat? Because
Give us a
we
stat.
love a stat.
We love a stat, come on.
I think really worryingly, doing a bit of research for things like this, 50% of our HR community are suffering from burnout. They're looking to leave their roles within the next 12 months. And I think that is a direct kind of correlation to what we're talking about today. There's just too much on for those people. And I think what we want to head off the first session with is about those conflicting priorities and how we can support in that. So I think there's a big question out there, isn't there, about what that actually looks like, really. So
So you're looking at me. So
I was actually going to go ask a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Go ahead, I'm ready for your question. £10 a question.
oh wow, that's cheap.
It's cheap.
He's northern.
What did you experience when you were HR director then in FTSE 100 in terms of pressure? What were the big pressure points?
It's really interesting because I think, unfortunately, I've had the privilege of working in organisations that were HR-led. So companies like Shell, companies like Aviva. I think, unfortunately, more often than not, a lot of organisations don't really know what great HR looks like until they experience it.
No.
And one of the things that I always used to find really funny was if you had a new CFO and a new CPO and you go to a board, you would never get everyone challenging the CFO on anything they'd said. Yet I remember times when I would go with probably one of the best thought out strategies. It was a lot better than some of my colleagues, to be fair, based on data, and everybody seems to be an expert in HR. And I think I'm doing a lot of coaching at the moment with some really quite well-known CPOs that would be well-known to people watching this. And a lot of them are really losing their confidence in their voice because, actually a lot of leaders, if we're being really honest, don't buy into HR.
No.
They think that the problem sits outside of them. They don't realise that their behaviour ultimately sets the North Star for the rest of the organisation, and how they show up is really important. And what's really interesting for me, I mean, I've worked on some amazing C-suites where there's a real commonality of trust. Everybody's clear on the individual skills that they bring, how the combination of those skills play out for the benefit of the business, that diversity. And then I've also worked in C-suites where it's actually okay for people to be blowing each other up and just driving their own political agenda, and it's vile. And
do you think in the last few years as well, and I think this is what we're talking about a lot, HR people expected to know something about everything as well. There's so many more focused. There's things around how AI is going to impact people strategies. We've got different diverse groups that they're trying to attract and expected to have the solution for all of that. They're expected to know how their systems integrate and work more efficiently for the business.
So financial advisors as well, and maybe with the cost of living crisis, and
they're dealing with workforces that are struggling to survive because they haven't got enough money, and there's so many different things. And I think that the pressure of deciding what you focus on is becoming quite challenging for them as well.
Yes, and I think unless HR is at the table driving its own agenda based on what the strategy is set out to deliver. So for me, a really good people strategy underpins your organisation strategy. So every single element should have a direct underpin to all of those objectives and priorities. I think unfortunately HR has to be so reactive because organisations don't want to invest in it. Most of them aren't digitised.
No.
You've got a group of senior people who, unless they have the infrastructure there, you've got shared services. I've just done a plug for you.
Hey.
But in all honesty, unless you have a proper infrastructure, then you get this, you get senior people up and down, operational, strategic. And I think also we're about to move to a majority millennial workforce.
Yes.
And I don't think the boomers, I don't think Generation X and Y have spent enough time understanding, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for the employee contract and the employee proposition? Why would these people want to come and join our organisation? So I think the really good HR directors that I'm talking to and I'm working with are very much on what does that mean?
Do I get to do a dig?
Do a dig. I think that's one of them, but also it's really hard work. And we were talking, weren't we, at the beginning of this session, and I said there was one business where I loved working there and we had a great relationship as an executive committee. And actually one of the things that I agreed with the CEO, because he was really people focused, was that each of my colleagues sat around the Exco table came and spent a day with me in HR. So they really understood it, because he didn't think
like on the job learning.
He didn't think that they understood what HR was about, and he did.
What was their feedback?
It was really bloody hard work. Actually, there was a lot of expletives in there. Like, shit, this is really, really hard work. I had no idea that your job was so difficult, because it's like free fall every day. It's like you never know what you're walking into, because it's all based on people.
And no matter how hard you try, one of the more kind of transactional things go wrong, and you're suddenly pulled straight into that administration process, the recruitment process, all of those good things, when actually you need to be focusing up here to move the business forward.
You do.
But also, who's there to support the HR people?
No.
It's so flipping lonely. And people say being a CEO is lonely. The reality is,
I think it's the same.
I think it's the same for HR people, because they are the support network for the organisation. So who's there to support the HR people?
And I remember, you get to see everything in HR.
Oh, yeah.
You get people that are on drugs, you get people that are going through breakups, you get people that have stolen things, you get all of these things that go on.
We've done all the above.
Yeah, we've done all the above. So you become, I think you have to have a sense of humour. I mean, Jesus. It's really interesting, isn't it, actually, because you've got to, everyone expects HR to be so professional and polished, and I think you have to be for credibility, but behind the scenes, God, you have to have a really good laugh, because some of the stuff, it's like being an undertaker.
It is.
No, but the stuff that you get, you know, that you see.
I quite like it. It's a analogy. It is.
The Undertaker. Human remains. It's the same thing, isn't it?
But I think this is why we started with the session today, because actually what we're trying to do is understand what your pressures are, because we know they're all going to be slightly different, and we know that actually each day changes from a pressure perspective, but we want to tailor these sessions to really support everyone where we can, don't we?
And what advice would you give them? What one piece of advice would you give them at the moment?
I think lean on your network and the people around you. I think it does feel lonely. Ask for help. You're not necessarily going to get it within your business, so look further afield and actually find professionals to come and support you, because there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of good knowledge. So I think that would be my top tip at the moment.
You know what, that's brilliant, Kelly, because I think as well, as HR people, I think there's a natural disposition to put people before yourself. I think you're naturally inclined to be others focused rather than self motivated.
Position, heal thyself.
Yeah, so I think there's also an Achilles heel to that, whereby you're not always taking great care of yourself. And I think the outside network is really important, because I think really good HR people, that horizon scanning piece, because it's such a demanding job and it's so varied, having your eye on your external network and understanding and plugging into what's going on. But I think also one of the things that I'm finding is in just my coaching sessions with some of the HR directors I'm working with, gratuitous plug.
I'm too slow on the plug.
It's actually the fact that it's actually the fact that they've just got a safe space to talk and download. And I think we'll be the first to organise executive coaching with brilliant coaches for all of our peers, but when it comes to ourselves and managing our own day-to-day, which is really bloody hard work, there's no downtime and there's no channel to have that sounding board. So I think that would be, and get some bloody time off at the weekend. Don't be one of those like slaves to working 24/7.
Can I have two?
Yeah, I was going to say,
she always wants two, doesn't she?
I guess my second point would be make sure that your foundations that pull you into the weeds are set up correctly and you've got the right infrastructure in place.
I think that's a gratuitous
I could be. I'll make it a gratuitous plug for sure.
Are you talking about outsourcing?
I think outsourcing, there's lots of ways to look at it. It's you've got an option to kind of semi-outsource things. You've got lots of options around it. But I think if you are continually pulled back into the weeds, there's so much on the agenda that we don't know a lot about at the moment as HR professionals that we've got to learn and develop from a strategic perspective.
Yeah, it's moving very fast.
I think you've got to get that foundation point right, else you're never going to progress the business as you should do. And I think that's the other point, really. Don't ask me for any more because I'm out now.
No, she's out. She's done everything. She's exhausted from this session. We've done 5 minutes and she's exhausted. These better be two good ones.
Well,
by
no,
the way.
she's just nicked one of mine. She should have let me go. So I've only got one now, and it's going to be quite short and sweet, actually, for me. I think just be kind to yourself. And it's an overused statement at times, but the reality is I think if you just give yourself time to, kick back and be present and just really be kind to yourself, because hopefully what you're hearing from the three of us is it's tough. It's really, really tough, and there's not a lot of fun out there. And it's so important for your own mental health and for those that you're also looking after. But it's like the oxygen mask. Look after yourself first before helping others, is what I'm hearing strongly.
I agree with that. I think the final
hearing strongly. That was good.
Strong hearing?
Strong.
Have you heard it strongly? Good. I heard that strongly. It was very strong.
Very strong.
I heard that very strongly.
That'll lead us on to our neurodiversity quite well of the dyslexic in the room. Yeah. Sorry, back to you.
I think the final thing I'd say on this as well is that I find it interesting that I think all of the stuff that's going on at the moment as well in the world is affecting people's behaviour. So we've got wars on, which it seems completely prehistoric. We've got cost of living crisis, we've got climate crisis, and all the while those negative impacts, it's all impacting how we show up at work. And I think as a result of this, one of the things that I'm seeing massively in the organisations I'm consulting to is inherent lack of trust around the top table. And I think if you don't have trust, performance dips. And I think the other element at the moment, we seem to be moving to a position societally that, you know, profit at the expense of everything. So profit at the expense of customer experience. We see it in every organisation. If you're a customer, profit, you know, profit at the expense of employee engagement. The greed. If we're being really honest, I'm just going to call it out, the greed around the top table is so strong and prevalent that I think it's actually not sustainable, and I think we're coming to a massive crisis
It's a domino
point.
effect as well, isn't it? Every business has got a little bit of greed, and it's just being pushed upwards.
We were talking about that, weren't we? The A's. You know, the youngest generation about to enter our workforce now, they look at the top of the organisation, they see what we've left as a generation, you know, in terms of the environment, in terms of they're never going to own their own home, and they look at us like, what's going on here?
Why am I doing
they
it?
can't connect with us, and we've missed that.
But that's just adding to the pressure of HR, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely. Are you bringing us back on point there? Did I go off
kind
a
of
bit?
are, just a little bit. Let's bring it back.
That's for going off point.
It's a naughty stick as well, isn't it?
Off-piste, he's just gone off there on a black run all by himself, hasn't he? I love that.
I do love it, though. You're very, very good
We're all
at that.
thinking about those things as well, though, so I do think they're very valid.
So does that...
We've got a minute for Doug.
I think he's
seems
very
quite
comfortable with the
overwhelmed.
conversation.
He's quite overwhelmed by all the attention, I think.
So really, that's what we'd really like to hear is sort of those are our views. That's why we've invested the time today in talking to you about pressures in HR. It's why we're calling ourselves these sessions a little bit of light relief.
Maybe that's not professional enough, but I quite like it because it isn't professional.
Yeah, me
and we
too.
do need a bit of light relief.
We do need a laugh. Yeah, a lot
of joy in our lives.
Yeah, we do.
But please do let us know what topics you'd like us to discuss to get our views on, and because we really are here.
Yeah, we want it to help. Be for them as well. We want for you, not them.
We want
for you.
For you. You on the other
end.
For
you.
Did you do a
for you?
Oh, point fingers,
for
right?
You.
Okay.
Yeah, you. I just like ringing the bell.
I think we need to take the bell away. Take the bell away. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Great to
Bye.